everybody, and welcome to the Ramcast. This is number 35, and I'm joined with my lovely co-host,
Alex Burke.
I'm main host, Savannah, and today is our very last interview of the year. Sad to say we're going on to season 3, but every year you grow. Today we have the honor of interviewing our lovely Superintendent Melanie Andrews. So Alex, why don't you get us started, get into, the nitty-gritty of this episode for me?
What is a superintendent? What do you do? What is your job?
Well, every day is different. Big part of my job is finance, personnel. I probably get involved in some things that maybe other superintendents don't do because I like to be involved in a little bit of everything. But ultimately, the overall operations of the school rest on my shoulders. So finance, personnel, curriculum, athletics, all of that kind of comes back to me. Even though we have specific people who do those specific jobs, they're all accountable to me, and ultimately I'm accountable to the school and the community and the taxpayers and the students and the staff.
So you're the head honcho.
I am, but I do have 7 bosses. The Board of Education, they are my bosses.
So they're the headest of honchos.
Yeah, I was going to say the council of honchos.
Yes.
The council of honchos picks one honcho. Yeah, they pick out one honcho that they like. That you should be in charge. So we know that you had a really long standing connection with our school. Could you kind of do like a little mini, I guess, story of that, of like where you started with Mount Vernon versus now?
Absolutely. So I started coming to basketball games with my dad when I was really little. My dad is a graduate of Mount Vernon High School, so I remember coming to watch the Mount Vernon Rams when I was 5 and 6 years old. When I was in high school here, I graduated in 1992. I knew that one day I wanted to come back and work here and maybe be the superintendent. I attended, of course, at the old campus, which most of it is no longer there. When I graduated from college, I went to college to pursue a degree in English education. I wanted to be an English teacher, but when I graduated from college, I worked at a bank and I really liked that. So I worked at a bank for 4 years, and then I had an opportunity to teach English here at Mount Vernon High School. So I taught English for 5 years. I taught sophomore English, performance studies, and English literature. And then I was the student services director for 5 years. And then I left for 10 years. And I had a job as a building principal, and then I was an assistant regional superintendent of schools, and had a couple of opportunities to apply at Mount Vernon, and it was really not the right time until it was the right time. And I was fortunate to be the person chosen to lead the school, and it's an honor to be the superintendent at MVTHS.
Yeah.
Got that long list of just things that you've done to get to this point, right?
Like you have been, like Mount Vernon Township High School has really been interconnected in your life.
Yeah.
So throughout all these years, what like insight of being a superintendent can you give us?
It's a very stressful job that I try not to let show. I try to keep it all inside because I want to make sure that I am positive for the students and for the staff. So I take a lot of that home with me. I'm trying to work on stress management a little bit better. I think every year as a superintendent, just like in any job, you get better and you learn things. I think I'm a better superintendent now in year 3 than I was in year 1. And every day I learn something new that helps me be better the next day.
Yeah, and you said you had that big 10-year kind of space in there. So how long have you been our superintendent?
I'm wrapping up year 3.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
So,
Is there really a good way to start this question?
I mean, we've got to ask it at some point.
Yeah.
So, Wednesday, April 12th, there was a code red. Can you give us a bit more of a insight as to what exactly happened that day?
Sure. So that morning, I remember I was in my office and I heard Officer Barton come over the radio, and he said, "Just an FYI, we're going to have a heavy police presence." And I looked outside my window and I saw multiple police cars flying into the Circle Drive. county, city, state, fire trucks, and I thought, oh my goodness, what is going on? So I ran to the lobby. He was coming out, Mr. Fothery was coming out, and I met the police at the door because they flew out of their vehicles with their guns and their body armor and everything. And I asked the police chief, I said, what is going on? And he told me that they had had a report of a shooter at Mount Vernon High School, and it gave a room number and specific number of people down. And they said, it may be a prank, but we're not sure. And I don't deal with we're not sure when it comes to student and staff safety. And that's when we made the decision to go ahead and call the code red, let the officers come into the building, sweep it, and make sure that everybody was safe. I think we were probably one of the first schools to get the call. You know, a little bit later we realized that multiple schools had received that call, and I think they probably learned from everyone else. But I was not going to take a chance when it came to the lives of people in this building.
Not to, and yes, that is just the stress that everybody was under. We very much applaud everybody in this whole situation for everybody handling it, and for, you know, teachers calming students down and things of that sort, and not to stay on the bad train. There was also the senior year prank this year, which was out of hand. And there's a lot of misinformation spread around of what actually happened, what the prank actually was, and things of that sort. Could you tell us a little bit about that as well, just so we can get all the air cleared over on that?
So there was a prank approved by members of the administration that did involve toilet paper, streamers, and a class of 2023 sign.
Shh.
Clearly what happened on May 9th went above and beyond that. I think a lot of the students felt like they had permission to be in the building at that time. They did not. But at the end of the day, we talked administratively. I had communication with the board and did a lot of soul searching with myself. And when I learned all of the information and we'd done all of the investigation, you know, we could have easily told the seniors that they couldn't participate in the graduation ceremony, but that would not have been the right decision. So instead, we have had seniors here doing service to the school the last 3 days. And by watching those students and hearing their comments afterwards, I know 100% it was the right decision. Now, what we will be doing in the future is looking at potential policy to determine the future of senior pranks, if there is a future of senior pranks.
Yeah, and speaking of other futures, what else can we expect for in the future?
So we have some big building projects going on this summer, both here at this campus and then also at our Mount Vernon East campus. And I'll start with East because you guys really won't see that. We have, at Mount Vernon East, we utilize the bottom floor of the building, but the top floor has really just kind of stayed the same since it was vacated 8 years ago. And we have some ESSER money, and we're going to do an HVAC project. It's a grant, ESSER is a grant. We're going to do an HVAC project and start using the second floor. So that'll be a big deal. Now on this campus, one of the things that they worked on over spring break was some preliminary work to put air conditioning in the turf room. And there was a delay in the actual air conditioning machines. They're supposed to be here the first week of June, and they will put those in. And then the turf room will have air conditioning, which will be nice if you ever have to go in the turf room. Yeah. And then I guess the biggest project is the presentation areas that are currently in the C and the B wings of the school. Those were built with a really, really good idea and good thought process with them, but they really have never been utilized the way that they were supposed to have been utilized at this campus. And we need the rooms more than we need the presentation areas. So again, we have this ESSER money that we can use to make those presentation areas into usable classroom space. So literally the day after teachers leave on May 25th, the construction guys from Beavis Construction are going to be here. They're going to put protective flooring down, they're going to build barricades up, and they are going to start demolishing those concrete stairs. And those areas will be off limits all summer. when you get back to school in August, they'll still be working on the inside of them. We'll be able to walk around them, but they won't actually be finished until probably September. So we will have 4 usable classrooms out of those presentation areas.
And that's a really good thing, because I know that we don't always have the space for our science classrooms. Like, instance, I took a sophomore science last year, and it was a carpeted floor, and we didn't have any, like, tables for our science experiments. So we were like, be cautious of dropping anything on the floor. So it's good that we're expanding and going more into the future. So speaking on timelines, what is probably one of your favorite things about being a superintendent?
I think it's the ability to work with students, like the two of you, the ability to work with staff, like Mr. Golson, the ability to be the superintendent in the community where I'm from. That sometimes is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I think I have a lot of trust and I have a lot of relationships with people who live here. Sometimes it's hard to make a quick trip to Kroger because people always want to ask me questions, and I don't have a problem with that. But if you're in a hurry, it's hard to make a quick trip to Kroger, but that's okay. I can't imagine being a superintendent anywhere except Mount Vernon High School.
What, other than the overseeing of the new classrooms, what else have you helped accomplish at MVTHS while you were superintendent?
When I took this job, with it being a new school, I didn't think we would have any projects. Like, I'm more of a people person, not a building project person, but I feel like that's all I've done. I finished the concession stand building out by the softball fields. We've done the tennis courts. We've done some parking lot improvements over at the East Campus. Of course, the turf football field is a big one. But I think probably one of the things I'm most proud of is we've kind of turned the culture and climate around here at MVTHS. Staff members want to be here. You know, we do have some staff members who leave every once in a while because they get a job closer to their home, or maybe it works better for their family. But our turnover rate here at the high school is very, very low, and that tells me that this is a place that people want to be and a place that people want to work. And I think that's the thing I'm most proud of right now.
Yeah, and the community definitely speaks to it with all the different things that happen with it, and along with the clubs upon clubs upon clubs that we have and teams that we have. So some of those create, you know, Mr. MVTHS with FBLA or other things of that sort. So out of all of the events throughout the year, whether it be academic for like the seniors, or whether it just be an event like I had said, Mr. MVTHS, which one do you find just your favorite?
Well, I'm also the student council co-advisor with Dr. Van Zant. So we have a role in planning homecoming. We plan homecoming and all of the events associated with that. So I'm going to be biased because I am the student council co-advisor and say that, you know, the things that we do student council related in regards to homecoming, it's probably my favorite, but that's because I'm directly involved in it. One of the great things about MVTHS is I truly believe there is something here for every student. If you want to get involved, there is something here for you, and I encourage everybody to do that.
You think we should,
I got a couple more in here.
Okay, well, one I gotta ask is, between you and Dr. Van Zant, who gets paid more?
I do.
I see. Good to know.
We were having that debate earlier, and we were like, well, maybe he gets paid more. No, you talk a lot about the community, and you're very, very involved with it. So is it just, you said you were also the co-advisor for student council. Is that also another reason why you like being that co-advisor? Because you're actually more hands-on with the students, and you actually get to talk to them and kind of, you know, be a friend to them, or like a shoulder. You know, is that kind of one of your other favorite things, is just the community itself grows along with the high school and the teenagers that grow into the adults?
100%. When I was here the first time, I was a co-advisor of student council with Van Zant for 7 years. And the first 2 years I was here, of course it was COVID, which made it incredibly difficult to develop relationships with students or even just talk to them. You know, it was hard to get to know people behind a mask. And when Mrs. Watts resigned from student council, I thought about doing it, and I thought, can I be the superintendent And can I be an effective student council advisor? But the reason why I wanted to do that is exactly what you said. It gave me an opportunity to really get to know some students, really get involved with the student body. And also I think it made the district office less intimidating. Students are sometimes afraid to come into the district office. For whatever reason, it's intimidating. Oh, I can't go in the office where the superintendent is. And I think by having some student council activities and materials, and if we're signing up for an assembly, you have to come into the district office, I think that has hopefully made me more approachable as well.
So, as you said before, you were picked by the Board of Education. Like, what qualifications do you need to become a superintendent?
Well, legally, you have to have a superintendent's endorsement. So when you go to school, you get your 4-year degree, you get your bachelor's degree, and I had a license to teach English education. And then I had to go back to school to get my administrative endorsement. That was another 2-year program. And then I had to go back to school to get my superintendent's endorsement. So in order to be a superintendent, you have to have that endorsement. I think one of the things that helped me in this position is the 9 years I was an assistant regional superintendent. Although I wasn't directly in a building, I answered a lot of questions that superintendents had. I worked a lot with school law, and I was able to get to know a lot of them. And I think that has been a big strength in this job for me.
And that's another thing. Is there been, plenty of other superintendents for our high school? Have you ever talked to them, or have they given you some kind of advice? Or even do people compare you to them? Because I know it's a bad thing to do, but do people still do that and look at, I liked this one? And
I'm sure they do. Nobody's ever told me to my face, but one of the funny things, the superintendent, Terry Milt, who hired me to be the student services director back in 2005, way back then, is now one of my board members. So he was my boss back then, and now he's my boss again. So that's kind of cool. But yes, I absolutely talked to some superintendents who have worked here before, and I talked to some superintendent colleagues of mine. I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. And the best way to get some other ideas and opinions is really to call friends who are doing this too. Sometimes being a superintendent is a really lonely job. Yes, I'm at the top. Sometimes being at the top is very lonely, and it helps to reach out to people who are in that same job who know what you're going through.
Well, this has been an awesome, awesome interview, and we really greatly appreciate it.
And we know you're very busy, so...
Well, thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was actually our honor. It was purely a fun Ramcast, and I loved this one. So this has been Ramcast number 35. Is there any last things you'd like to talk about, or any last questions?
Anything you would want to say to either the seniors leaving or new freshmen coming in?
Or even just the community in general, because I feel like a few of these probably even get out to some of our future freshmen even.
Well, I would always like to thank the community for the support that they give all of us at MVTHS. We have new band uniforms, all different kinds of things because of community support, turf and all that. For our seniors graduating, I wish them the best of luck, and always to know that Mount Vernon High School is a place you can come back to. And just, reconnect with former teachers, maybe get some advice. Incoming freshmen, I'm going to tell them to get involved. The best way to enjoy Mount Vernon High School is to get involved. And I would tell the students who are coming back here next year that same thing. Have a good summer. Think of something you want to do next school year and get involved here at MVTHS.
Thank you so much for doing this. This has been our lovely Superintendent Melanie Andrews and co-host Alex Burke, main host Savannah. Hope you have a great day.
See ya.